Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, good people. Hey there, good people. We are back. We are back for another episode of the real journey of entrepreneurship. I know that you are just as excited as I am because guess what? I'm bringing along new friends, new colleagues within the business world to be able to share their courageous dreams. And what does that really look like, when you're in this space of entrepreneurship? I just so happen to be an owner, CEO of 11375. I also just so happen to be a mom. I happen to be somebody's wife. And guess what? I'm still pursuing this dream and vision that it's not going anywhere, friends. So guess what? The journey is here. It is a process as you're entering into this space of building a business, coming from an idea that you may have taken off a piece of paper within your phone, and you are definitely putting in the work to get this thing done. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not an overnight success. It's usually about 5 to 10 years to get that overnight success. So join the conversation today as we are entering into this journey of entrepreneurship. I am excited to just have you join the seat because, as I always say, I have the best seat in the house. When you are in this space and I am interviewing dreamers, I am entering those who have the courage to share their truth in this space, it is really a blessing for me to learn from others. And my next guest is no different. I heard that Kalema is a rock star in the space that she's in a space where they have opportunities to create and do work with city and state agencies, with private clients as well. But you don't need to hear any more from me. Let's just bring my next guest on. Hi, Kalema.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
Great. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Anita.
Oh,
Very excited.
thank you for accepting the invitation. And so I am going to just take a seat back and please share and tell those who are listening or maybe watching the video, who are you? What do you do?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I get that a lot. Oh, I have so many titles. My proudest title is mother, but I am an entrepreneur, a business owner, a wife, a daughter. What I do is business management consulting within New York State. I am a New York State and New York City certified minority women business enterprise. A lot of the work and experience that I lend to my current expertise of consulting is based in my experience. So, operations management, educating, um, having a keen awareness and life for creativity and learning how to problem solve at a young age through like event management, being a campus leader. So, in a nutshell, what I do, I help people get to bringing their ideas to fruition. I would encapsulate it that way.
And so I want to add that I had a chance. You did send over some bullet points. What's from your bio?
Yeah.
What is not in your bio that you think that will help us to learn a little bit more about who you are? So you did mention
Mhm.
all of the comma ands in your
Mhm.
intro, but tell us a little bit more that's not listed in your bio that you think we should be aware of.
Mm, that's a great question. Um, I would say that I've always been someone that wanted to be an entrepreneur. My cultural experience and background, my father's from Ghana. He immigrated here when he was 17. My mother is from Harlem. My great grandmother was a socialite. She worked and helped with Harlem Fest and Harlem Week. What I would like to share is that I was always surrounded by culture and very strong minded women, but Black women and Black men that have a deep rooted support and length of heritage. So I would say that really has propelled me in various ways to continue the path and pave a new way of business ownership, which we now deem as entrepreneurship, but it's making a way out of no way, basically.
It's, and you say that very lightly, but it really is um, something that's in our DNA, whether we want to um, receive it, deny it, or other. This is something
Hmm.
that we as a community. But I don't want this to kind of like escape. Um, your dad is from Ghana.
Hmm.
Your mom is from Harlem. like
Yes. Yes, yes,
like
yes, yes.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but I would love like that is so like cool. Like
Yeah.
what are the chances? Obviously the universe always knows, what is needed invest, but that's just so random.
Yeah, it is. They met in school, so he was a biology major at City College. So, but my mother's side of the family is from the Carolinas. There's, Geechee culture,
Hmm.
um, a lot of like North South Carolina, and they came here. My grandmother actually had some experience like singing, and she was actually a booking agent, so she helped discover talent and yeah, they found their way to Harlem, and it's been, ever since.
That is a beautiful. I know it's not the whole story, but at least
Yeah.
is like really beautiful. So I want
Thank
to launch into this why for you. So you have a lot of commas, a lot of comma ands, a lot of comma ands.
Mhm,
And you talked about really having this bug or this desire to be in this space.
mhm.
Is there an additional why that you have
Yeah.
these answers?
I think I'll take you back to, I would say 2015, 2016. I was working in a governmental agency. You know, it was my first job, basically my first career starter. And I saw a lot. I had the opportunity and I was, had the honor of like seeing a lot of the behind the scenes, seeing the good and the bad. And for me, excuse me, it was important for me to take that moment and say, hey, I'm getting my master's. I'm having the opportunity to save some money. What's going to be the next step of my journey?
Mm,
And it's always been in the back of my mind to have something that I own to provide for my future legacy. So when I took the leap of faith, I figured, hey, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I want to be able to create something for years to come and create a lifestyle. And for me, a lot of my colleagues, I was finding like this 9 to 5 burnout. So I titled it Reinventing the 9 to 5. Basically, this was in 2015, 2016, before it was cute to talk about burnout and saying that you want to leave a corporate job. So It was a lot of change making that I had to be prepared for and a lot of ruffling of feathers. But for me, it was always rooted in the sense that I wanted to create something that was more than just clocking in and clocking out. So when I say I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, although it was in my DNA, I felt it was important to start now. And that was in 2015 around that time.
Wow. Okay. Where do I go next? So let's talk about the leap and
Hmm.
also the idea of working a 9 to 5, because what I've discovered personally is that I work for myself,
Hmm.
right? But I do, it's longer hours,
Hmm.
in that space as an entrepreneur. So when you took that launch, you decided to take this leap, right? What were some of the first questions that you really asked yourself before you took the leap? If any, if any, you may not have.
Oh,
I was like, I'm gonna just go and do it.
for me, it was, can I look myself in the mirror and have integrity
Mm.
waking up every day? Um, what do I see myself creating for years to come? And then also the tangibles, like how much money did I have in my bank account? Who would support me? Who was my village? What did I want to create? And basically, what did I want to be known in this world for? I didn't want to be known for someone to just, and I don't want to diminish the fact that a 9 to 5, right, can fund your ideas. And you also have to test those ideas to make sure that it builds traction, because a hobby is a hobby and an idea is an idea if you don't put any action towards it. So for me, it was about asking those simple questions, and making sure that I can find ways to support it. But it was about living with myself and making sure that I felt good with what I was doing.
So you did a lot of soul searching,
Exactly. Yes.
and
Yes.
we again here are not minimizing the 9 to 5. So
Mm-mm.
I do not want that to be a message, because
Mm-mm.
I don't actually coach that. Have
Mm-hmm.
a 9 to 5. You can still do both until you're comfortable with one or the other, or you can continue to do both as long as you choose to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not anything not honorable about having 9 to 5. Um, so in this space of your soul searching, you mentioned your funds, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
often overlooked when starting a business. When you first started, because you have multiple businesses that
Mm-hmm.
also talk about that as well. Um, how did you decide that this funding, like what did
Mm-hmm.
that look like specifically for you of your business?
Yeah, the funding was definitely self-funded. It was a lot of, you know, the great thing was having a 9 to 5 and making sure that I could tangibly save in order to fuel my idea and fuel my business. The work that I was already doing was, which was very operations heavy, event management heavy management. I was able to learn on the job. So in essence, before you take a leap of faith, try to have someone else take the tab before you start. And I
Mm.
use that in order to propel myself, to have a more viable transition. But on the tangible, logical end, it was just saving some money, putting money on the side, asking friends and family to support, and finding and being open to other ways of equity. So, like exchanges. If I can help you in this way, maybe you can help me with this. Maybe I can speak here. I also leaned on to my college community, so I had opportunities to sell my. I actually started off with my hair fabrics from Ghana. So I used a lot of that money to actually fuel my consulting business. So the reason why I speak to that is understanding the importance of selling a product helps you a lot with how to create and sustain a business. So that's my second business.
When do you have time for yourself?
Oh, right? Yeah, I try. I try.
And so you have two business, a consulting business and then also a personal care company. Which one did you start first?
I started my consulting business first. Yes, in 2016, 2017. Mhm.
So you've been around for some time.
Yeah.
But then you have the personal care company
Mhm.
that I read that it's trademark. How did you go about deciding that that's what you wanted to do as building and protecting your business through that space?
So, when I was a kid, I had a middle school teacher tell me I should have been a lawyer because I knew I always asked a lot of questions in class. And I say that because I had to do a lot of research with how to start a business, how to incorporate, whether the pros and cons. And when I was developing and learning and researching, I found that trademarking was something that it was a legal term within intellectual property and trademarking law. I was privileged enough to actually find a organization, volunteer legal services, that helped basically low income or starting businesses help with legal navigating the legal landscape. So essentially, I knew that. And again, this was around 2015, 2016, when natural deodorant wasn't a thing. Now we have a bunch of
Tons.
big brands.
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, it was just an idea in my kitchen, and also being very cautious of like what I was putting on my body and the effects of it. So I was doing a lot of research. Mind you, I was in a science major. Well, I was a psychology major, but I wasn't a chemist. I wasn't anything like that. But for me, it was important for me to just self teach and try and build the resources that I knew that was going to be very expensive. So trademarking, I got into finding this nonprofit. They helped me navigate the legal landscape, but a lot of it was on my own. I was like, I want to be able to protect my brand, and I understand the importance of protecting your brand in a legal way. So that's the decision that I made, and it's a USPTO trademarking that you can file for with the USPTO.
So I wound up doing my after really understanding, to your point about your intellectual property, and really understanding you're growing and you're developing something and it's getting some traction.
Mhm.
How exposed do you want to be?
Mhm.
That was my question. And so I only did the process as of, well, I got it completed this year, but it
Congrats.
was
Congrats.
done. Thank you. It was done. Like, I started the process last year. And
Mhm.
I have to tell you, I wound up paying a lawyer to do,
Mm.
primarily because to save me time. I'm
Yeah.
sure I could have done it myself. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely positively sure.
Mhm.
I wanted to ensure that the person that was doing it, he actually used to work for the agency, USTP.
Oh, nice.
So he knew all the ins and out, and also still maintain,
Mhm.
relationships there. Not that it sped up my process. I want to be
Exactly. Yeah.
clear like that, because
Mhm.
it was still a waiting time.
Mhm.
But it was one of those things, to your point about ensuring that as you are building and developing, how do you protect this? What does this really look like for you?
Exactly.
And
Mhm.
so 11375, I went through the process of doing it. And that's probably one of the things that I can completely check off
That's
my
great.
many to-do list. But
Yeah.
it's not anything that you cannot do alone.
Mhm.
My preference was that I did not want to. And so I just went,
Yeah.
and you did it, another way similarly, but you had support. But a
Yeah.
lot of it, like, I bet you can teach the process because you went more in depth than I
Yeah.
did. I did not.
No, but the beauty of it is that we still got to the destination. But that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? Is that we can take multiple paths. I actually just attended a career panel with the zigs and zags of entrepreneurship, and everyone came from a different perspective of how they got to ownership. So that speaks great to your point.
Yeah, everyone doesn't have the same blueprint.
Hmm. Exactly.
And so I wanted to touch on, we talked about like, you have these multiple businesses. I'm curious, honestly, how you manage. Um,
Yeah.
that is, and on top of that, you are a mom, and what does that, I mean, because I already know I have a little one,
Yeah.
and I can promise you that it does require support and
Hmm.
coming in, but how do you manage that?
Yeah, so great question. It's like, what don't I do right now? I would say it's really it was being firm with my boundaries.
Mm,
And I say that translating from my personal life and my career, just being firm with my boundaries, but also knowing when to ask for help. Those were two things that I was struggling with in when I was younger in my career, and now I don't have an issue saying, "Listen, I can't do this." And is this really urgent and necessary?
mm.
And leaning on my parents. My parents have been extremely supportive. I have a 2-year old. They've been helpful in so many ways. I'm blessed to say that I have two very supportive parents. And then also, yeah, like you said, scheduling in me time and a social life. There's times when I could be honest, I don't have that. And I know that I have to be in grind mode, and that's just what it needs to be for this season. But also having an understanding network of friends and family that understand that I'm working towards a larger goal. So it takes balance. It takes balance. It takes boundaries. It takes saying no. It takes making people upset, but that just comes with the territory.
So let's double back on the support system and
Mhm.
also your overall wellness.
Yeah.
How you said yes, you did admit that it's not like prime, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So when you're thinking about your overall wellness in this
Mhm.
space, I know I can vibe and I
Mhm.
get it, but
Mhm.
what are some of the things that you really do for your self-care? Like
Yeah.
for real. Like what does that really, really look like? If everything was in real order, which is
Mhm. Mhm.
not,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what does that look like for you?
It looks like, so for me it looks like going to the gym. Like that's a huge decompressor for me. It looks like, time with my friends to chat, go to brunch. I love wineries, so like that's one thing I like to do. And it's also like just social engagement. Um, Another thing is for me, I love the spa. So like spas and having a massage. I've been able to take a step back and look at like what really makes me happy. And I think also too, as being an entrepreneur and having such a set schedule, and also like you were mentioning, you're running at a 24-hour schedule most of the times. It's actually more to do than having a 9 to 5. So I've had to actually constantly audit what my self-care looks like. And I'm open to saying that it looks like different things different ways, but for me, it's just me taking time to myself, and leaning on my support system so they know that, I need a break or I need some support with this, etc. Um, so yeah, but I would just say it's boundary setting. That's what I've used a lot.
So there's something that you mentioned about this space that we sit in. I find that I've
Mhm.
become more creative since
Mhm.
I've became really engulfed in this space because I had zero aspirations of being an entrepreneur. I
Mm.
was set to go back to work after maternity leave. And my
Okay.
first day back, I was told that my position was eliminated. I had leaky
Mm.
breast, like it was just a mess.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, no, I feel
and
you.
and my first day back, that's what I was told. And so
Wow.
I didn't really like I understood how you can create your own economy, but I didn't understand until I was forced into this
Mhm.
space. And I'm saying
Mhm.
I was forced specifically for me because when I went to go back to try to find opportunities or work or talk to people within our network after sending out what felt like a million resumes or
Mhm.
phone calls, I got no bites. I got
Yeah.
everything was no. And so in this space, when you're talking about, for me, it's like being more creative. That
Mhm.
the additional hours for me comes in from.
Yeah.
Just wanting to go, oh, let me try this thing. And it's like,
Mhm.
you better slow down a bit, finish what you at this point, and
Yeah.
then that you can move on to something else. Do you find that that happens? The creativity is more robust as an entrepreneur, or what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be because there's a level of survival mode and there's a level of like you have to make it work. For me, yeah, it was the lack of creativity in my personal career that really helped propel me as well into entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Um, and I agree with you. I think you have to be more of a hands-on problem solving creative outlet type of learner in
Mhm.
order to be an entrepreneur, and you have to have tough skin because you're going to get a lot of no's. I remember when I graduated from Barnard. I did not have any job prospects, and I did a lot of campus leadership, networking, you name it. And it was the beginning of the economic crash during that time. So there was nothing that was viable and tangible that I could say, okay, I'm going into this field. And those are the things that I think about when I ask myself, why am I an entrepreneur now? Is because I want to make sure I have something for my family so they don't have that situation. So I agree. I think you have to be a problem solver. You have to be pulling from levels of creativity that have not been created before.
And that's so interesting that the component of creating a legacy and having, wealth building
Mhm.
as a part of your business model, um, and really think about planning for the future. I think those things, those points that you mentioned are really, really important,
Mhm.
specifically if you're just starting. But
Yeah.
even more importantly, it just so happens that you have two Black women that are exchanging, ideas right now. And for within our community, it looks a lot different than others. So
Mhm.
that legacy and long-term wealth building piece, when you are considering stepping into this space, in my opinion, should be a part of your planning, um,
Mhm.
um, going in.
Yeah.
Um, I had another follow-up question.
Mhm.
So as you are developing your brand, what are some of the things that you and creating your own narrative that you want people to know specifically about how you impact, what are your offerings, etc.
Mhm. Um, so is it more so like what do I want folks to know about the business or more so about um what we stand for, like our philosophies?
Either way, either you can go
Mhm.
either way with that. Either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I think about what Boys and Creatives stands for, it's about creating a path, whatever that may be for you. It's about cultural impact, the importance of whatever work that you do, the importance of bringing your own authenticity to it. And it's about collective impact. I think it has a level of community. In our logo, we have the fist and also squashing it and taking our own paintbrush. And
Mhm.
the logo was actually created by Jonah Monet, my cousin. She's a DC artist, but she's also very well versed in artistic expression. And I think for me, the inspiration was about us creating our own narrative and the colors and what that means to us and what collective impact means to us. um I think those type of values excuse me, will be the ones that withstand time. And I think that's what I want Boyton Creatives to stand for. As you know, my last name is Boyton, but also the origin of it is Ghanaian, and has a lot to do with the historical Ashanti, you know, um, legacy tribes. So there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of lineage, legacy that's built within the brand, but also that's what I want folks to understand, that it's not just me. There's a lot of background, context, history, ancestors that have come before me that I'm paving the way for. as well.
Hmm. You said a lot in that show. And so, but again, that all lends to what seems to be connecting your personal values and connecting them with your business. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Unless I'm not hearing that correctly. Um, what are some of the best practices since you have,
Hmm.
you know, these variety of businesses? You know, the idea of having multiple streams of income is critical to success. But can you share of any challenges that you may have experienced, you know, either in the space of being a mom and being an entrepreneur, however you want to flow with it? I'm open.
Hmm. I think a constant challenge I hear of entrepreneurs, but also as in the consulting space, is garnering clientele and garnering the right clientele so you can expand and expand in a sustainable way. A lot of the work that I do is teaching other vendors, organizations on how to do business with the city, but also how to do business as an entrepreneur. That's a constant question I get asked, and I always answer in the sense of like learning and understanding what your networks are, but understanding your ideal customer. So, my ideal customer may not be someone else's ideal customer, and understanding how you do the research and the metrics in order to make sure that you're attracting and retaining that customer. A lot of the challenges that come with some entrepreneurs is the fact that they didn't understand what their ideal customer is, and they're tailoring their work to something else and someone else. So I push people to actually answer that question ahead of time of understanding who their ideal customer is at the beginning before they get started so they can understand how to sustain it. So for me, I got to a point where I knew that, I was tailoring to business professionals, young entrepreneurs, but also I asked myself, is this sustainable? And can I expand it in various demographics, areas, locations, etc.? For me, I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I have my experience. Now I have to figure out how to scale. So a challenge is always scalability. And also to testing that scalability is based on the longevity or the on head, like firsthand research that you do in order to understand how you can expand. So um, I think it's just a lot of it is scalability, and sustaining that. That's a huge challenge that some folks have. And I've also it's constantly something that I work on is how to scale and how to make sure. Thankfully, I'm grateful and thankful enough that I've been able to solve that with continuing hiring new employees, getting into new markets. But it's always with that core idea of who's my ideal customer.
And that I will say honestly is at the core of jumping into business.
Hmm.
Is really understanding your vision and who you want to serve.
Yes.
Because I can tell you when I first began, I began as an event management business, and
Mhm.
I absolutely positively did not like doing weddings, right?
Yeah.
That just wasn't my thing. But what I boiled
Mhm.
it down to is that event management is really project management.
Exactly.
If you look at it across the board, it's almost the same thing.
It
You
is.
you have to figure
Mhm.
it out. But the other thing that I wanted to, really had because you spoke to it with it's almost like say it with your chest, like you spoke
Yeah.
with it with so much passion about really understanding who you are supposed to be serving, like
Mhm.
who is your client. I have made some mistakes, right?
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
tell you that there are people that I do not we just don't vibe.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other thing I've also learned, all money ain't good money. And
That's a fact.
we would hear it, all money ain't good money. And when you
Fact.
experience it, you're like,
Yeah.
I want to give it all back to you. Like
It's a fact.
I don't
Mhm.
want any of that. So,
Mhm.
in addition to, just really understanding, take the time to do your research. Like
Mhm.
Lima is really emphasizing that point of understanding who you are and want to do business with. I know you want to expand on it because you're doing
Yes.
this.
Yes, it's it's interesting because seeing it from a dual lens of being like consulting firm that's more service based and then being my basics, which is product based. I have gotten to both of those destinations of trying
Mhm,
to understand and making sure I understand clearly who my ideal customer is. And a lot of it starts with market research.
mhm,
And that's why I'm emphasizing it so much. Data, data, data. Like I was a psychology major and I had to take statistics. And I was like, why do I have to take statistics? It's because of moments like this where you're sampling data to see if it's sustainable. Can you scale it? What are the metrics? What's the information? What's the user experience? How are people interfacing with your website? Like all that data is so important so you can understand the narrative that it's going to tell. But yes, I agree. Not all money is good money, and you have to understand and be okay with the way in which that you're accepting money if you're providing a service. So again, going back to, integrity, that's something that's important to my brand. And making sure that it's also understanding the collective impact of serving our community and what that looks like. I am a Black woman, and how I come into spaces is important. So all those things, I agree. It's so much to impact. Yes.
What I also wanna say is that, not to I mean, because I don't wanna say it's obvious, but we identify as Black women.
Hmm.
And a lot of times what we and I don't know if this is your experience, but I know as a Black woman, our goal is to provide excellent service,
Yes.
and not to be, engulfed into the idea that, Black businesses are late, all the, you know, I'm just elevating that as a stereotype. Like, I
Hmm.
don't that's not my thing. I try to, you know, come into spaces, professional, you know, with distinct with my own authenticity, right? So
Yeah.
when I look at myself, like even as I'm talking to you, I'm like, today is free hair day. Let's talk about the hair. Tomorrow, it may be I need an accessory, so I may
Hmm.
wait, but that still does not minimize my quality of service when it comes to clients. And that
Exactly.
is one of the things that I always like to elevate. Like we do good business, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we're not the exception to the rule. Like we're not
Exactly.
we do good business. So when you're thinking about, what that really means in terms of helping us to grow and scale our business,
Mhm.
think about Black women. Like we
Exactly.
doing things out here, right? With
Exactly.
limited resources.
Absolutely. So I love that you mentioned that because I think the conversation when we look at, the corporate or business landscape, how it's being categorized, minority women business enterprises, but
Mhm,
also looking at the college conversation of affirmative action rulings.
mhm,
There is a lot of there's a lot of things that are going on that may feed into each other, and I think that again, yeah, being a Black woman, we are excelling and creating businesses and sustaining businesses at a high rate, but also how are others supporting us and making sure that we can be sustainable. So speaking to your point, I definitely agree how we show up, that we are excellent and we do have high standards. We are fulfilling roles and contracts and doing an amazing job with it. But we have to make sure also, well, that folks are actually supporting us to make those things happen.
yeah, we yeah, we can go in full depth
Yes,
about
we can.
this whole conversation,
Yeah.
um, because and I'm glad you're open to the discussion, primarily because, you know, I'm happy to see your success, right?
Mhm. Thank you.
And I
Yeah.
think that, um, as we are unpacking whether it's the government contracting space, being labeled as minority women business enterprises and other
Hmm.
however they want to label it,
Hmm.
the idea is that, when I look at I'll even take it back to this, right? I don't have a blueprint within my family that's doing within my immediate family
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing. And
Exactly.
so even that as an additional comma and becomes really important, so that when the next person wants to, they now have someone that they could say, oh, well, she's from Brownsville, Brooklyn. She
Mhm.
did it, right?
Mhm.
And I can tap in because I can now learn. And you don't have to battle so hard because we already have the scars for it.
Exactly.
Not that we want the scars,
No, we don't. I want a soft life. Like,
but we know the reality. There are a
yeah.
lot of um challenges that we have to experience,
Mhm.
to get to the spaces, and also ultimately to fulfill these dreams that we have in our heads. So
Yes. Yes.
there,
Amen to that.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Mhm.
as we wrap up, told you it was gonna go quick. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me some of the tips that you can offer
Mhm.
for those who happen to be moms or
Mhm.
parents. I always say comma and parents
Yeah.
that are looking to enter into the space of being an entrepreneur, as because you have both. You have a
Mhm.
product and you have a service-based business.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing a few
Yeah.
tips who would want to enter in those the footsteps?
Yeah. I would say just start with being okay with saying no.
Mm.
Give yourself that grace and give yourself that honor to allow yourself to be okay with saying no. Um, get clear with your objectives, of why you're doing what you're doing and what is propelling you, because that is going to sustain you. Um, that's going to keep you going when the days get very hard. And there are days where it gets very, very, very hard. So you have to always understand the why of why you're doing what you're doing. And surround yourself with people that love you and care about you and that will grow with you. um, Growing with someone is very important. It's important to understand your own self development. Seek help when needed, whether that be for your emotional, mental, physical health, everything. I think entrepreneurship is a lifestyle, so it takes everything from you, but it can give everything to you as well. So you have to be aware of the fact that you're going to have to put everything into it in order to see the return. Um, so those are some of the tips I would leave with everyone today.
And so, but before you step away, tell
Yeah.
us where we can find you. I know that you do have social media presence. You
Yes.
have a website.
Yes. Yes. So if you are someone interested in starting a project, getting started in entrepreneurship, you can find me at www.boatengcreatives.com. So that's BOATENGCREATIVES.com. You can shoot me an email on my contact page. And then also, yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, social media at Boateng Creatives. My second company, My Basics, the natural deodorant company, we're at shopmybasics.com. And you can find all of our natural care products there as well.
And so, I'm not going to let you leave without my rapid fire questions.
Yeah, sure.
Love it. So, usually I like, I want to thank you for, just being open to the conversation, but
You're welcome.
there's always like a little bit more details, and the
Mhm.
fun part of
Yeah.
the conversation. So usually rapid fire questions with one answer
Okay.
only. All
Okay.
right. So you sound like you're a New York City native. So what's your favorite
Yes.
girl?
My favorite borough?
Mhm.
The Bronx. Absolutely.
All right, I'll give it up. I'll give it up.
Yeah.
Give
Like,
it up for
come
the
on
Bronx.
now.
I give it up for the Bronx. Give it up for the Bronx. So
Absolutely.
the other question, what is your preference? Do you
Mhm.
prefer pizza or burgers?
Oh, man. Pizza.
Right.
Got to.
Sneakers or heels?
Sneakers. I'm a Bronx girl.
Okay.
I'm a sneakerhead. Got to.
So the other question is, In 3 years, 3 years, and this is never one word answer. What will your community look like in 3 years for you?
Mm, that's a beautiful question because I'm excited.
Mm,
It will look like a multiplicity of generations.
mm,
When I talk about community, I would love to employ. I would love to work with a lot of different Black men and women that are doing very inspirational work. Um, that can look like a lot of different things, but that's what I would say.
mm. All right. So I'm waiting. I'm ready to join that community. Any final
Yeah.
thoughts or words?
No, just thank you so much, Anita. This has been a joy. This has really been so fulfilling. It's filled me up in so many ways. It's been such a blessing. So I'm looking forward to all the things that you do. And I just thank everyone for tuning in.
Oh, so you trying to get at my heart. I'm not gonna.
Ah! No, this is beautiful.
I definitely appreciate you sharing your journey, and it's always really really nice to see successful Black women that are comma and in the space of government contracting, who also happen to be moms, which means we out here
Oh,
doing it really really
yes.
big, and also not afraid to talk about the spaces that we're in. So
Yeah.
please come back, please come back,
I'd love
please
to.
come back,
Yeah.
please come
Thank
back.
you.
So
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring you in virtual backstage, but thank you.
Okay.
Sending you virtual.
Oh,
Thank you
thanks.
so much. And so we are on to the next. So I'm really excited that we had an opportunity to have a chance to sit and just, I felt like I was on the couch. Didn't you all feel like you was on the couch? I did. I just didn't have my full tea, ran out of it. But anyway, so excited to share some of Kalima's tips, because I think that when we are able to really share differently, you know, talking about the 9 to 5ers, we don't have no shame in mentioning that. But what Kalima did share is to, while you're working on the job, we're not telling you to be a slacker. Always still perform in excellence, but always think about, before you take that leap, that you are learning from within your job, and also having someone else take the tab before you jump. Also think about, being firm with your boundaries. Like, that hit me. I was like, I need to probably change some things. And the question that Kalima asked that kind of really hit me: is this thing urgent and necessary? Is this thing urgent and necessary? And I have to rewrite that down for myself. The other thing that Kalima shared that was really, start with being able to say no. Again, get clear with your objectives, understand your why, surround yourself with people who love you. And you know when you're in this space of entrepreneurship, I just want to share that a lot of times it is lonely, right? It's not lonely from the perspective of you having supporters, right? But just lonely in terms of sometimes execution. Everyone is not going to see your vision, but you have to have people around you that can get at your core to say, "Yup, kid up, keep going. You can do this. You got this," and keep going. So on that note, I am just in awe. Please be sure to reach out, contact Kalima. She has two very viable businesses that can be supported. So do not hesitate to do so. So, on that note, I think you've seen enough of me. I think you've seen enough of me. But I wanted to just share that I am so excited to have you join us. This space is something that is beautiful. I learn from all and others. But until next time, thank you for joining. But also note that if you are interested and being a part of the broadcast, interested in being featured, want to buy ad space, you know what? It's here. Please give us a call or email us at info@11375.com or 718-691-8966. And again, we are on the social platforms at 11375. And again, Black business doing really good. Join the movement. Looking forward to having you support and see us in other spaces. Thank you so much.
This week I'm thinking about how dope it is to be in business for myself. self-employment, business ownership, entrepreneurship, all that good stuff, and why I chose to be in that space. Actually, it wasn't my choice. It was something that I was forced into. But as I'm here in this space, I really think it's dope because I am creating things that I imagine, things that I write on a piece of paper, but it also helps to create, after the number of failures, a real boost of confidence that I have the ability to take something off of a piece of paper, take something that I typed in my phone, and then create it. Your mind is your biggest flex. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375.